Hey, basketball fans are out here at El Cap High School where the Vaqueros just knocked down OLP. I'm joined with McKenzie Curtis and then head coach Curtis of the El Cap Vaqueros. And McKenzie, you had 9 points in the first half, but then you put up 29 at the end of the day. Big point production for you. What was working for you today?
Going to the basket and definitely lay it up and get that contact and free throws.
Besides, the OLP started to come back a little bit, but you guys were able to hold them off. What was the key to your guys' success when it comes to slowing them down and being able to maintain the lead the entire game?
It was definitely keeping our composure and working as a team, but also identifying who the three-point shooters were and shutting them down.
It's definitely a team sport, and Adams was dominating in the paint, and she's done a great job so far this year coming into the game. She's averaged 11 rebounds a game. But what can you say about what Adams does that gives you more success in scoring?
She's definitely another person a team has to look for, so it's good to have someone else on my team who can go to battle with me. So she's amazing down low. Before
I pass it on to Haseen and Coach here, your coach is your father, okay? Yeah. Your brothers are on the bench. We got a team environment here at El Cap, a family team environment. I've experienced playing with fellow family members and stuff, but what is it like for you to have so many family members a part of this program?
It's great to know that they have my back, and it makes this team more of a family knowing that my family is involved with it. So.
What are the pros and cons of having? My dad coached me in high school. I know how it is. So, what are the pros and cons of having your dad be your coach at the high school level?
A pro and a con for the same reason is he pushes me. I get pushed harder than the other girls, and the pro is that makes me better, and con sometimes it gets to me, but I got to push through that, and that's a pro.
Dad, pros and cons having your daughter on the team?
It's not my daughter on the team. It's my daughter at home. Okay. She's the player on the court. And we do butt heads because sometimes we both forget that. But otherwise, it's a fun time.
So, Coach, you guys jumped on them really early. What was the key to the fast start?
The girls came out looking to pass the ball quickly, and we were able to get some open looks. And defensively, we were playing quickly. They got some turnovers. When we slowed the game down, or they slowed the game down, then it came to us. They were able to get back into it in that first half.
It seemed like the game plan defensively was to try to shadow one of their top players, Bailey Geller, number 10. Talk about the effort you got from Cheyenne Paris. Yeah. She did a great job shadowing her. Talk about her.
Oh, she's a freshman that plays hard, and they got a player. My hat's off to number 10. She's a good player. So when I have to put that much focus on guarding somebody, or our team does, and Shy's the one we turn to do that, and it's a team effort because she's getting screened all night long, so everybody's got to help out. But when you got a player of that caliber on the other team, you got to respect it.
Talk about in the third quarter, you guys made it a little interesting. What was the key to their run, and then what did you guys do to stem the tide to ultimately quell that run?
I got out-coached. We were leaving people open. They figured out what we were doing to them, and they capitalized on it. By the time, I'm not the quickest to figure it out, but when I finally figured it out, then we pulled it out in the fourth quarter.
And lastly, just to follow up, we're hearing a lot of good things about you. She's putting up big numbers. You mentioned that on the court she's your daughter, or she's the player, but as a dad, how does it feel to see her have early success?
It's good. I don't get a chance to reflect on it right now. When I get in the car, I'll think about it. But right now, it's a player, and she's just one of the team, and her teammates support her, and she supports them. It's a wonderful atmosphere.
And then last question for me: start the season, 2 tough losses. This makes 3 in a row. What's the difference now, and how you like your chances going forward?
Bishops and Montgomery are tough teams, and we have 7 freshmen and 4 sophomores. So it's a long road for us. It's not this season, it's down the road. But any success we have now is a bonus. So the caliber of teams, we have to play at that level. The only way to do it is to get that experience and that confidence is to play those teams.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you.
There's something brewing out here in Lakeside in girls basketball. Hey, basketball fans, we're out here in Lakeside, California, and despite my tweets earlier, I did find the gym. I've never been to the gym here before, and I didn't even know they had a gym. I found the pool first, so they do have a pool here, which is fun. So let's dive into this game, okay? They don't really care about us finding the gym. They care more about what happened. So El Cap OLP. El Cap started off, at halftime was 18-6. And then all of a sudden, OLP just started having this comeback, and you said it and I said it. We couldn't figure out what was going on and why they had so much success. So try to enlighten us on how OLP was able to come back.
Well, I think the biggest thing is in the first half they weren't shooting. They were passing up shots. They were being a little tentative. When they got into the second half, they started to feel more comfortable. I don't know if it was being down. They settled in, but they took a lot of shots. And funny thing happens when you take shots, sometimes you make shots, and that's ultimately what happened.
I personally, but this is how great my analysis was. I thought they just gave him Jordan's secret stuff in the locker room, and all of a sudden they were playing better. But yeah, exactly. But like you were saying, they were getting a lot of open shots, and we were talking earlier. They were just taking a lot more shots than they were early in the first half. But we met up with McKenzie and her dad, that is the coach here, Coach Curtis at El Cap, and we talked to them. But what kind of a day, McKenzie Curtis, 29 points.
You know, it's funny. I had heard a lot about her. It's actually my first time getting to see her play, and she's everything they say. She's physical, inside, outside presence, really good size for a freshman guard, outside stroke. Again, like I said, physical, so she can play inside and outside. Kid's got a really bright future.
And El Cap's got a very bright future. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores on this team, and they're gonna be good. So let's start things off as we start the podcast every week with our top 10. A little bit of changes here, but let's go through the list. I'm just going to run through it real fast so we can break it down. La Jolla Country Days 1, Mater Day 2, Mission Hills 3. Mount Miguel jumps all the way up to 4 after a pretty solid week, starting 4-0 and beating Cathedral last week. San Marcos 5, Bonita Vista 6, Cathedral Catholic 7, Bishops 8, Mira Mesa 9, and Poway 10. So if you look at the list, what is the first thing that jumps out to you?
Probably Bishops. They're playing really, really well. They've had a lot of games, so I feel like they're finding a rhythm really early in the season. They don't have a lot of numbers, so cohesion is, really key to their success. But they got a quality win against Mira Mesa. Early, it was easy to say that maybe they hadn't beat a tough schedule, but that Mira Mesa win was a quality win. So, like we said last week, just because Coach Wells loses players, they're still going to be really good.
For me, it was Poway, and when we did the voting, I had tried to give a little love to Poway. They did knock off LCC, which was a pretty good win. I was surprised. You were surprised. So they jumped to the top 10. LCC is right at 11, but with their tough schedule that we talked to Coach about last week, any win coming up, they're going to jump right back into the top 10. So let's talk about some games. Let's start with that Poway LCC game, and why were you so shocked that Poway was able to knock off LCC?
Well, they lost a lot last year, and they were flying under the radar. I seen them play a little bit in the fall, and to be honest, they weren't that impressive. So it was probably just us or me underrating them, but Coach Jay Truesdale is an outstanding coach, always has his kids prepared, always has his kids ready to go. So in retrospect, we really shouldn't have been that shocked.
So that was a big game. And then the other one I want to talk about is La Jolla Country Day and Mission Hills. No, they did not play each other, but they did play a common opponent in Highlands Ranch. And the two outcomes were drastically different. La Jolla Country Day was able to sneak out a win, but Mission Hills lost soundly. So as you look at it, what can you get from, and I know it's just looking at scores and scoreboards, but as you look at the way Mission Hills struggled and La Jolla Country Day was able to win, how much do you value in a potential matchup between La Jolla Country Day and Mission Hills? Is La Jolla Country Day that much better than Mission Hills, even though they're only separated by a couple spots in the rankings?
Right now, I'd say yes. Problem is, we got a lot of season to go. So the biggest difference, again, I keep using the word cohesion. Although they did lose a D1 player in Elijah Styles, Country Days brought a lot back. They played all summer together, so their cohesion is there. Mission Hills has a lot of gaps to fill, holes to fill, players they got to reintegrate. One of their top players, drawing a blank, my girl Kat, coming off an ankle injury. So she's just now getting back into the flow of the game. So as much as I would say, answer your question, yes, they're probably better now. That doesn't necessarily mean they'll be better when we get in late in the season and playoffs.
So as of right now, they are that better because, that's what the score was. But, like you said, it's a long season. Things can happen. Teams are going to get hot. Teams are going to, start gelling more as a team.
Catherine Neff is my girl's name.
There you go.
I'd go crazy if I didn't get that right.
Well, we got some shout-outs coming up later on the podcast we got to get to. So the last game I want to talk about is Bishops Mira Mesa. You were at that game, and Mira Mesa hung tough, and that's a top 10 matchup for Bishops and Mira Mesa. What can you say about what happened in that game?
Same thing like I talked about with Country Day. Mira Mesa's still trying to figure out who they are. Bishops is now who they're going to be at the end of the season, as long as they have health and no injuries. They're working towards where we're going to be. Mira Mesa still has some things to work out, trying to integrate a lot of players, a lot of new parts. But it was a good early test for Mira Mesa. Also for Bishops to figure out where they were based off of the teams that had played up to that point. So again, it's good to see these early season top 10 matchups because it really allows us to figure out who is who and what teams are really going to separate themselves early in the season.
And we got a lot of top 10 matchups next week that we're gonna talk about. But we're talking about Bishop, so we got to talk about Madison Chang, and she's one of the shout-outs we wanted to give out this week, and she has hit 35 three-pointers already this year. Granted, Bishop's played a lot more games than most schools have with 8, but that's still a lot. She hit 11 against OLP last week. So Madison Chang's on our list. The other person we want to talk about down in the South Bay is Sheila Latone, or is it the correct? Shyla Latone. And she is dropping 40.7 points a game down there for the Barons. So another shout out to her. And the last one right here in Lakeside, and it's not who we were talking to earlier, but a secret unsung hero, and that is Stephanie Adams of El Cap with all of her rebounds, and she put in a lot of work tonight. Like Haseen was saying, let's talk about it. How much of a factor was she in this game?
Well, I think late when they made a run, the biggest thing that would stop OLP's runs is usually a block by Adams. She was really tough inside. She not only get the block, but she secured the rebound. So they had no answer for her inside. Even though the stat book's not going to reflect, she was a huge factor in their win tonight.
A big piece here out in Lakeside. So that's the top players. Real quick, I'm going to go through the top teams that are leading the county in some categories, and then we're going to break down the matchups you want to check out next week. La Jolla Country Day is shooting 45% from 3. Very impressive early. Cathedral shooting 69% from the free throw line, and Montgomery is averaging 47 rebounds a game. So shout-outs to those teams and those players. Let's talk about next week, and you sent me the list of the teams you want to check out. What's the biggest game you're looking forward to next week?
I would really want to see probably Mission Hills and Christian. Christian has a lot of new pieces, new head coach. They had a great spring, fall season, and Mission Hills is Mission Hills. So it's a good test to see an up-and-coming team and the current king of the hill.
That game goes down on Thursday night next week. The other game that Christian is playing, Modern Day, in the same week. Big schedule for Christian early in the season. The other team that's playing a couple top 10 teams is Cathedral Catholic. They're traveling to Poway. They're also taking on La Costa Canyon. What can you say about those potential matchups, or those matchups next week? Sorry.
Cathedral is tough. They probably have the best front court in the county with Mozzie Harris and Kylie Stifler. One of the best shooters in the county, Rose Smedley. So, and they got transfers that are waiting to come in. So they could be scary good when it's all said and done this year. Rose
Smedley, I'm good friends with her brother Patrick. He better be watching this episode, especially for Rose. A fellow TCU Horned Frog as well. So that's my own little personal. I heard Rose Smedley and I was like, wait a minute, I've heard that name before. So shout out to Patrick Smedley and his sister Rose for having a great season. So that's about all we're gonna do for the show today. Do you want to talk? One more game we want to check out since we just saw Lincoln's coach not too while ago. Montgomery at Lincoln. Big game for the Hornets, taking on the big rebounders. What do you got in that one?
Defending CIF champs, Division II. They're a tough team. They got winning. They got a really dynamic point guard, Imani James. And again, it's going to be a matchup versus their perimeter skill of Lincoln and, like you said, the inside prowess of Montgomery.
Haseen, it's only week 2, but this has been already incredible fun, if that's even a phrase or whatever. That's really lame. I'm sure you'll kill me on social media later. But anyway, it's been another great week. Thank you again to El Cap for keeping the lights on for us. For Haseen Williams, I'm Braden Soprenet. We'll see you guys next week.